Hello, good evening and welcome back once again to In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral, with the first of our Cheltenham Countdown Monday night preview shows live here in the studio with some top guests, some top tipsters and hopefully some anti-post winners as well. My name is Ross Brierley. I'll be leading you throughout the next hour or so in the company of some fine minds. And of course we'll be hearing from you at home because this is live and interactive on YouTube and Facebook. So like and subscribe to the stream as ever, get involved, get your selections and your thoughts and your questions in for our guests this evening on that chat box. But of course the countdown begins. Does the countdown ever end? As soon as they finish on the Friday, of course they reset the clock and we're counting down to the Cheltenham Festival one more time. But 859 hours and 30 minutes to be exact is what we've got until they jump off at Father Supreme. And we'll also have crowds this year, fingers crossed of course. So it could be a very different experience all round. And it certainly looked good at Leopardstown at the weekend. Fingers crossed it continues on an upward trend and you can have a fantastic 4 days at Cheltenham. Come the second week of March. But until that point, it's getting those anti-post slips ready and raring to go, analysing the racing that's just gone and looking ahead to what might change at the weekend. Like I said, get in touch, please do. We want your thoughts and feelings and your selections as well. But who will be joining me for the first of these Monday night panels? First things first, a baptism of fire, you could say, for the first show of the Cheltenham previews, as Paul Keeley has taken the night off to go and write a book about Cheltenham, and he's joined and he's been replaced, if anything, by a younger, sleeker version. It is, of course, the anti-postman himself, the one and only Mr. Robbie Wilders. Robbie, how are you doing?
Yes, me. Yeah, very well, Ross. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. You've taken the Keels uniform of a short sleeve shirt, but
yeah, I don't know if you'd fit into this one though.
I was going to say wearing it
No
slightly
offence,
differently.
Yeah, don't know. Would he have the top button done up? I don't know, but 2 for me.
Yeah, there you go. Robbie, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
It's the Cheltenham Festival, of course. As the anti-postman, when do you start thinking about it?
Yeah, well, as soon as the jump season starts, really, I've certainly conjured up quite a few angles this year. I always do every year. I kind of sort of build it up throughout the season, and I like to go into the meeting with some good positions, ideally.
Yeah, you like to go into the meeting with a 500-page ledger of anti-post slips.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's gone all right so far, but I still think there's some value to be had at the very moment, to be honest.
Yeah, the problem with that angle, of course, is that you really don't know. It can go either way. The anticipation must be quite painful.
It is, but that's kind of the game you're in. Like, you know, you are gonna get some wrong. You're gonna put up non-runners, but I think it's worthwhile to get on a big price if you can find it.
Okay, there you go. Well, let's see if we can find some in the company of Robbie in the studio, and from home. Talking about big prices, it was a cracking shout at the weekend from Tom Segal. The question marks over all of them in the Irish Gold Cup. So why not have a crack at a 50-1 outsider, Tom? Like I said to you off air, unfortunately I was picking up some shopping from Lidl. Didn't have the bet in the end, but yeah, you've had a cracking weekend, mate.
Well, every dog has his day, isn't it? It was nice, wasn't it? It was, as we said on the show, you could make reasons why all the others couldn't win. So why not go for a big price one? The only horse with a 1 by its name. It sounds very, very simple and very, very basic, but it was the truth. He was the only one coming into the race in any sort of form, really.
Yeah, obviously an impressive performance from him. And, of course, Goshen, 15 lengths.
Yeah, we got that one right too. We got most of the other things wrong, I have to point out, but we got those 2 right. It was a good day.
Yeah, it's of course it's not rights and wrongs. It's profit and loss, isn't it, Tom? So 50-1 and 13-2 to win by over 5 lengths. That's the key, isn't it?
Well, I like to get everyone right, Rob. And Ross, Rob. Okay, I'm gonna get this wrong all night long, aren't I, Rob and Ross?
So you like to get them all right, but you got my name immediately wrong. So thanks for that.
Exactly.
Thanks for that, Tom Segal. Is it?
Yeah, that's it.
So tonight we're going to be looking back at the DRF, of course, and some of that Sandown action. We'll be looking ahead to what might change over the weekend just coming, and we'll be looking at the Champion Hurdle, the Stayers Hurdle, and the Brown Advisory which of course is the 3 Mile Novice, of which that name will never ever stick, will it? But it's still the RSA in my brain. So get your thoughts and your feelings and your tips in. I've got the chat box up here and we'll have a look at those. But it's not just Robbie and Tom that will be joining me to have a look at a bit of action as well. Each week we're going to be joined by a rock-solid top-name guest. And luckily, our guest for this evening had a good weekend. It could have been a very different interview if all those good things hadn't have gone in for the one and only Mr. Paul Townend. Good evening to you, Paul.
Hi lads, how are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, we were just saying it's in theory it's a wide open weekend at Leopardstown, isn't it? Those Grade 1s are there for the winning, but you rode in 8 of them and you won 5 of them, so you must be pretty happy.
Yeah, not a bad strike rate. Look, we were very lucky. We went there with a lot of good rides, and the majority of the big guns clicked. So it was a high pressure weekend. There was a lot of big guns going there, and we brought home plenty of prizes. So it was a good weekend all round.
Yeah. Do you feel that pressure, Paul, when you're lining up with a weekend of horses that essentially are red hot favourites? There's a lot of pressure, a lot of reputations on the line.
Obviously you'll feel it because of what they are, and there was a lot of talking horses going there at the weekend. If you don't feel the pressure, you're probably not doing anyone justice. But I think it can be channeled in the right way, and when it is, it's probably good for you. It sharpens you up.
Okay, well, obviously we are. This whole show is essentially looking ahead to Cheltenham. So, speaking of the weekend, 4 of those 5, of course, at the weekend were novices or juveniles as well, Paul. And I would say that you must be pretty excited about the future. They're not, obviously you have your Chèque and Poursois and so on and so forth, but it looks like the future's bright at least.
Yeah, very important to have the novices coming through, and obviously Danny rode the winner of the 2 Mile 6 novice hurdle as well. So no, we've a lovely team of horses, and as you pointed out, it's obviously very important to have the next generation coming through. As you say, Chèque and Poursois was very good, but they're like the rest of us; they're getting older, and the new generation is coming through.
Yeah, I mean, you're only 31, right, though, Paul? Is that...
That's right.
Yeah, you've got a fair few years ahead of you, I'd say. I was just looking at your strike rate. It's at 34% strike rate the last 3 years. And I mean, Ruby only topped that percentage once. So does it, on paper, it looks like you're at the top of your game. Does it feel like that?
It does. Look, I missed a lot of the start of the season through injury. I obviously had a foot injury at the start of the season. Then I dislocated my shoulder in Listowel. So we're back fighting fit. We did a lot of rehab, and we're fresh, and the body feels good, and we're staying on top of the injuries, please God. And once we stay off the ground, we have the ammunition behind us.
And in terms of the festival, I don't think it's too controversial to say, Paul, that it was Rachel Blackmore who took the headlines at Cheltenham last year. Is there competition amongst the top jockeys over there? Are you feeling like you've got to come over and get a few of those wins back and get your name in lights again?
Obviously, yeah. Rachel had an unbelievable year last year, and she didn't leave too many prizes behind her. She ran us close in jockey's title, and hopefully we can keep our name on the front page of the paper, and keep tabs on her, I suppose, is one way of putting it.
So if you don't mind, we'll just have a look at a few of the runners for the weekend and just get your thoughts on those, and maybe other ones that we didn't see that might well turn up at Cheltenham. And obviously I think the most impressive was Galopin de Champs, who was heavily back beforehand. I mean, he was 100 to 1 in a Grade 1 at last year's Dublin Racing Festival. He was a well-backed 4-9 favourite who bolted up in impressive fashion. What's changed between this time last year and yesterday?
Obviously what he's achieved in the meantime, and the performance he put in at Christmas. He was the probably the most talked about horse after the Christmas period. He had to go and back it up this weekend in Grade 1 company, and he duly obliged. It was a proper race. he's a novice. He made a couple of novice mistakes, but they were entitled to, and he I suppose he answered all the calls. He was the one everyone spoke about after Christmas. He was breathtaking.
And of course, the question I realise that Willie is going to call the shots here, but 2 mile 5, 3 miles, is it going to be Bob Ollinger or Brave Man's Game you're taking on?
That's the question.
What's the answer, Paul? That's the
Willie Mullins is probably above my pay grade. I just want back where he turns up. Willie has a knack of getting these things right, and there'll be a lot of thinking and goes into it. We have to get there, obviously, is the first thing, and everyone will throw their ideas in the hat, and Willie will come out with the answer. So yeah, as I say, I'm just hoping I'll be on his back wherever he turns up.
You also had an impressive juvenile in the shape of Vauban at the weekend, Paul, who was a little bit unlucky behind Pied Piper, who's since come out and bolted up. Vauban bolted up the other day as well. Are you confident you can turn the tables on Pied Piper at the festival?
It's hard to be confident. There isn't much between them, though. Both horses, I think, improved from the day they met in the maiden hurdle. Pied Piper was so impressive over in Cheltenham, and I was impressed with Vauban. I think he can improve again on what he done at the weekend. He jumped much better. He can jump better again. I think he hung a little bit right with me, jumped a little bit right, and they're little things we can iron out, and there'll be extra couple of links. Hopefully we can gain.
And also worth mentioning Facile Vega, of course. It's fairly rare, Paul, that the horse with such an incredible pedigree looks like it might actually live up to the parents. But I'm a speed figure man, and the penultimate run, the first bumper win was absolutely out of this world. And you've got obviously, how do you see that horse potentially as a future hurdler? Are we talking a possible champion hurdler?
I think you're.
Sorry, say that again, Paul. Sorry.
I think you're looking well down the line there when you go that way. He's been obviously very impressive in what he does, and hopefully he can stay right and keep improving. But yeah, I'd say we'll have a job getting Patrick off his back come March.
Yeah, well, exactly. There is that. But I'm just getting excited for you, Paul, down the line. But what else have we got to talk about? Other horses that are probably worth mentioning that maybe didn't run at the weekend. Talk to us about Classical Dream, because it was a fair old market reaction to the Galmoy defeat. But it seemed, watching the race in that day, Paul, that it was a pretty brutal test at Goran. I mean, they were crawling home at times. Horses coming from a mile back. In your words, what happened that day?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a very interesting division with horses that are putting themselves at the top or very close to the top of the market, and they're flip-flopping the whole time. So he had a very hard race at Christmas, I think, and maybe what they call it, the bounce factor in Goran, possibly, but. No, from a long way out in Goran, I was starting to struggle, I thought, and it wasn't really deep ground like you can get in Tayesta's day, but it was testing, and he left us scratching our heads a little bit after, to tell the truth.
Yeah, he's. It's not obviously he had a season where a couple of runs he just didn't seem right. Since you put the hood on him, he seemed a bit of a revelation. Are you going to have to mix things up for Cheltenham, or do you think it was just one of those things?
Maybe it was just one of those things. Danny took me on Flooring Porter in Leopardstown. Every time I was getting breeders, Danny kept me honest in front. He wasn't going to let me have completely my own way. They pulled a long way clear in Leopardstown, and maybe that race just did leave a little bit more of a mark than we thought.
Okay, just a few others to ask you about. Of course, Appreciate It is still fairly prominent in the champion hurdle betting. Can you give us an update on him?
Yeah, he seems fine. I was as disappointed as anyone that I wasn't getting the leg across him this weekend. Itching to get back on his back. He's the horse with all the potential, I suppose. And look, we don't know how good Honeysuckle is. Where is the end of her talent? But I for one are definitely looking forward to having a go at her on something with the potential that Appreciated shows.
Okay, and then and elsewhere, of course, Kilcrut. I mean, it would have been a strange question, I think, this time last year, or certainly in the spring last year. You were looking at Kilcrut and Appreciated and thinking, we're going to have a fantastic couple of months with these horses. Obviously, we haven't seen Appreciated. Kilcrut has taken a few goes to get going, but he looked back to his best the other day.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the strongest of races, but the time on the day with the ground and everything was good. He could do nothing but beat what was in front of him, and he did that. He jumped well and hit the line strong. You know, we went to find out what would happen. We bucked out and we set our stall out from the word go, and you know, he's gone and done it well. And I think someone passed the remark that if that was his first run over hurdles, you know, he'd be very short for Cheltenham. But he did disappoint a couple of times before that, and disappointed bad.
And anything else under the radar? Obviously got Classic Getaway, looked pretty talented the other day. State Man, of course, as well. Again, a lot of unexposed types who could potentially go. Do you know what the angles with out of those, or is any particular future that you're looking for with those two?
They're Willie Mullins's, and Willie Mullins will leave it to the last. So they're long enough now not to try and second guess him. Dicer Dynamo is obviously one with huge potential as well that we're really looking forward to. And hopefully he's one of a few that we'll have decisions to make on where they go. And I suppose the main thing is to get them all there in one piece and then have the headaches after that.
Okay. I mean, if you want to get Willie on the line, Paul, we could ask him while you're here.
Yeah, you walk away.
Anything from Robbie or Tom? Any questions? Any angles for Paul?
Yeah, hi Paul, it's Tom here. Just a quick one for you. Sir Gerhard. I mean, I was blown away by him on Saturday. Everyone was sort of moaning about his jumping, this, that, and the other, but the form of the race seemed to me to be fantastic. The time was very good as well. Looked very fast to me. Would you advocate going up in trip or staying at 2 miles, or are you going to tell me that that's Willie Mullins' decision?
Thank you. I think you answered that one there yourself. No, I thought it was probably a better performance than he was getting credit for even on Sunday. He did a lot of things wrong. Jumped much better when he had company in his maiden hurdle, which probably sounds silly that it worked that way around, but it did. And still pulled out plenty. So yeah, look, he's obviously a very talented horse. He showed us that in Cheltenham last year, and you know, he just backed that up on Sunday. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a strong division, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great race, that, isn't it? I mean, I can't think of many better Supremes at this stage than that one has the potential to be.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
And I suppose that's what we're looking for too, for the first race in Cheltenham, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's going to be you waltzing home by half the track like last year, Paul.
Wouldn't it be lovely if it was? But no, I think it's going to be a tough race this year.
Okay, well, we're going to let you go, Paul. But if you imagine you only get to ride one horse over the spring, out of all the potential superstars you've got, who would you pick?
Oh, that's a nice, easy one to finish with, isn't it? To pick one is impossible. You've all the potential of the novices, and then you have the older horses that we know. Allaho is obviously go there with a huge chance again, and my old favourite Album Photo, I think, has a life chance in the Gold Cup at a big price.
Okay, there we go. Lovely stuff. Thanks, Paul. Best of luck. Obviously, I'm not sure you'll need it. You've got some fantastic rides, and obviously the right man training them as well. So fingers crossed for a good week.
We'll definitely need it and appreciate that, lads.
Thanks, Paul Townend there with some thoughts from the Dublin Racing Festival and going forward towards Cheltenham. But yeah, I think he'll probably have a good week, won't he, Robbie?
Got plenty of ammunition, yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What if you could back one of Paul's potential rides?
Mounts. Well, I quite like the idea that Sir Gerhard and Dice at Dynamo are going to go in different races. So I think that a double at a much bigger price, but in the Ballymore and the Supreme vice versa, at juicy odds will look quite good on the day. I think it's going to be about 5-1, whichever way they go.
So cross them over.
Yeah, I've done both. So I did the Supreme, just the way I know Sir Gerhard was he was impressive on the weekend, but I just wonder whether they might be thinking the way he saw out the 2 miles that he could step up. So yeah, I'm kind of in two minds, but I think those 2 horses are probably the 2 best novices I've seen this season.
Okay, there we go then. We've left Paul Townend at home to probably go and get his dinner, and we've been joined by Simon Clare, who of course has got plenty of market moves and anti-post action from the weekend. It was a pretty crazy one. Simon, good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening. It's great fun actually watching In the Know. Actually, I was tuning in there, listening to you interrogating Paul Townend, trying to get a few secrets out of him. But
I don't think we got any secrets out of him, Simon.
Well, I think he's being very honest. I mean, Willie Mullins does make the calls, and he's been well known to make them quite late in the day. So I think, yeah, I mean, the most important thing is not to mislead. And I think that was great. But I thought there was loads of interesting insight. The idea he could eke out a couple of lengths more with Vauban by working on the jumping. You know, it's quite. I always think picking out the little clues and the nuggets from what he says is critical. But what a list of rides he's got. Even dropping in at the end, album photo at Allaho after all the horses you mentioned already. I mean, he's got to be going into the festival. Okay, it's 6 weeks off, but feeling like he's got one of the best hands you could possibly imagine. So, yeah, it's great to listen to him talking to his mounts.
Okay, well, we'll have a quick look back at the weekend, and then we'll get stuck into a few anti-post races. But don't forget, you can sign up for the Racing Post Members Club for a discount. At the moment, £15 per month for your first 3 months if you use the link in the video description to get all the action ahead of Cheltenham, and of course through Cheltenham week as well. Take you all the way through till the end of the jumps season. So get involved in that. Let's take a step back to the weekend. I'll start off with you, Tom. Obviously, we had a couple of half decent winners, but I mean, I just made a list of potential horses we could talk about. Manila Kakuna, Vauban, Blue Lord, Conflated, Facile Vega, Goshen, obviously L'Empress, Ahoy Signor, Galopin de Champs, Honeysuckle, Sir Gerhard. There were a lot of horses who ran on Saturday or Sunday who pretty much had their reputation in hands. Were there any notable disappointments? It seemed like the majority of the horses who turned up trying to solidify their chance for the spring festivals did so.
Little bit disappointed with Blue Lord, if truth be told, Ross. I didn't think he jumped as well as he can. I thought he was a bit laboured the whole way around. In terms of form, it was a very good run, clearly, beating St Sam and giving the weight to the mare. But I was just a little bit disappointed. I thought he'd be a little bit more clinical and a little bit more polished than he was. He was the one that sort of had a little bit down. I mean, everyone seemed to have a downer on Sir Gerhard. I personally didn't see that. I thought he blew me away, actually. I mean, he was faster than Honeysuckle. I just thought with those couple of mistakes, he jumped, 5 of the hurdles perfectly well. And the form is lights out good, isn't it? It has to be. I know the Racing Post ratings and the ratings gurus are going to say 6 of the horses ran £70 below form because they can't make it any fit any other way. But I thought I think races like that, when a good horse goes out and takes everything out of their comfort zone, are really, really exciting to watch. And I thought he was superb. I slightly disagree with Robbie. I think he's a 2-miler through and through. His pedigree suggests that. He's by Jeremy, who is the sire of Arcona, Belfast Banter himself, obviously, Sir Gerhard, and Appreciate It. They're all 2-milers. His mum was authorised. She's a flat mare. He's related to a top miler, Zafine. I can't see any reason why he would go up to 2 miles 5 myself. But I'm not Willie Mullins, and I don't think anyone understands what Willie Mullins thinks about anyway, so he'll get it right and we'll probably get it wrong, but I thought he was super impressive.
Yeah, it was that moment, wasn't it? He kind of as they rounded the bend, Paul started to go through the gears, and Three Stripe Life was just left for dead.
Yeah, I just thought it was really, really good. It was really good. It was a good time. It's carrying £7 more than Honeysuckle. You can say Honeysuckle wasn't pressurised, but there was lots of other horses in Honeysuckle's race that were pressurised, that are very good horses. Zanahir, Zamwa, He blew them out the water in terms of time. Sir Gerhard did, doing it all from the front himself. I just think he's really, really an outstanding horse. I'd love to see him against Constitution Hill, because I think that would be the race of the season without a shadow of a doubt. And, you know, I'm a pedigree man, you know that. His pedigree suggests to me that he's a 2-miler. And if I had Dysart Dynamo, which is a Westerner and I'm an accordion mare, he couldn't get bigger stamina than that, he'd be going up in trip. And so Gerhard be staying at 2 miles. That's what I hope. Whether that happens, it's up to Willie Mullins.
Of course, that would be fine for you, Robbie, if you're crossing them both over. So
Perfect, yeah, as long as they keep apart.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Anything caught your eye? You mentioned a juvenile in the Vauban race.
I think this third, Il Était Tomp, I'd not heard of him before that race. It was his first run for Willie Mullins, but I think any horse who can finish third in a Grade 1 in his first over hurdles is one to follow. That kind of suggests that he's held in high regard if he's going to run in a Grade 1 on his first start. And it looked a good field to me. He was making inroads on Phil Dorr at the end, who's obviously set the standard of the juveniles before that race. And I noticed there was, with Coral, he's 14-1 for the Triumph. That could be quite interesting, but there is bigger elsewhere if you shop around. There could be loads of improvements to come.
Don't shop around, Robbie.
Take the worst price, but it's what...
He got the Coral bit in, though. You did half of it right, Rob.
Could he be a Boodles horse then, maybe, Robbie?
I don't know. He's probably going to get a high enough mark after that, finishing third in a Grade 1 behind two horses who... I think Phil Dorr's still third favourite for that Triumph, I think. But yeah, really interesting. I thought he might have been a bit shorter in the betting after that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they ran Horton Galore last year.
Yeah,
he placed
exactly. Yeah,
and it was his first run for the yard. So
horses can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that just goes to show how much improvement there could be to come. I mean, look how much Vauban stepped forward after his hurdling debut.
Yeah.
So he's not one to rule out. He's 40-1, so nothing was really expected, and I thought he did well.
Okay. And again, I think there was only sort of 8-9 runners last year as well, so you might get 40-1 and turn out with a potential each way angle. Simon, over to you. 2 questions for you. One, what did you like about the weekend? But also, were there any, like I said, with most of the reputations enhanced rather than damaged or come out of nowhere, were there any huge market moves, or did it just kind of solidify the market for you?
Well, I think the first thing to say, as you say, is most of the favourites won. I mean, it was a shocking weekend actually for bookmakers at Leopardstown. Luckily, the FA Cup threw loads of surprises on the football, sort of balanced it out. But and because all the horses you expected won, they kind of shortened in their respective races, and there weren't any sort of huge ramifications really. Vauban sort of hardened into favouritism, 2-1 ahead of 9 to 4 Pied Piper. So Gerhard is 3-1 for the Ballymore favourite, 4-1 for the Supreme. I suppose the Gold Cup, we haven't really touched on the Gold Cup because that was the one race which threw up a bit of a surprise and conflated, albeit watchers in the know would have had a few quid each way on, apart from you and me, Ross, who didn't somehow. But did, I suppose the one horse you could say who didn't win, but maybe sort of, redeemed his sort of reputation or his chance Gold Cup was Minella Indo. That's sort of staying on second. Does that, do people think that maybe he's now back into the Gold Cup reckoning given his Cheltenham record?
Yeah, I mean, obviously from... one Robbie to another, I guess. It was Robbie Power got the leg up, and he ran into one, didn't he? But if you're backing a horse for the festival, that's a perfect trial.
Absolutely, yeah. He ran much better than I thought he would, considering how many good horses there faded out the back. He was making some good inroads. Not in a million years could I have picked out the winner conflated there. That was just crazy. But I was going to say, I don't really understand the angle behind conflated.
Here we go,
Tom.
Don't get it. You've been challenged. What was the angle again?
The simple angle was I didn't fancy anything else.
That's fair enough. I mean, it's 50. I can't believe he's gone off 18-1. That looked pretty short on what he did, but he's won by 6.5 lengths. Yeah. Great run by Minella Indo. He's shown much more life than he has in his previous couple of starts this season. So I'd want to keep him on side, but I don't think he's probably going to be a betting proposition at the moment. I think he's around 5-1. I don't think he's going to get much shorter than that, to be honest.
Okay. 6-1 with Coral. Actually, the only other thing I'd say, and it's probably something we'll come on special, is it felt like when you looked at all the winners, and maybe even some of the placed horses, some of the handicap winners, how many Cheltenham Festival winners do you think will have come out of the Dublin Racing Festival this year? I mean, it feels like it's going to be like something like 7 or 8 of the 28 races are going to have run over these 2 days. What do people think? Does it feel like it was fertile ground for festival winners?
Oh, I mean, I would say I think Blue Lord is obviously going to have a big chance. I think he will improve again. Vauban's got to have a huge chance. Facile Vega looks incredible.
To Gerhard.
So Gerhard, Galloping de Champ, and then probably, I mean, again, we've got handicap potential, haven't we? Good Time Johnny was impressive. A Wave of the Sea's got course form as well. Birchdale back to his best. So yeah, and I mean, there'll be horses. We have to play the videos back, won't we? But the horses that got beat 20 lengths will suddenly improve for that Cheltenham ground, Simon. So yeah, what about you, Tom? How many? What would be your spread?
Maybe not as many as you were suggesting there. I thought Gallopin de Champ's probably will win. I'm sort of a little bit negative on Blue Lord after that. I thought he had a hard race and maybe not at his best. There's my dog venturing the fray.
What's the ask the dog the spread, Tom? What are we going?
Trap six at Romford.
That's lovely.
So I was a bit negative of them. I thought Gallopin de Champ. I like Sir Gerhard, as I've pointed out. Obviously Honeysuckle. So maybe 5 or 6. But I mean, one thing I took away from it, and he's 42 years old now, and he's had loads of injuries. But Davy Russell is riding as well as ever again. I mean, he is different class for me, and I think just backing him blind at Cheltenham will do you well. I think he rides Cheltenham better than anyone else. He's in tremendous form. His ride on Call Me Lyrene was just poetry in motion. It was absolutely spectacular. And, you know, I thought he was just as much the star of the show as any horse. I know Patrick Mullins describes him as Voldemort in the paper tomorrow. I think he's more Dumbledore or whatever they call him. I don't even watch Harry.
You know the names.
Is
Tom.
that right?
You know the names. Yeah, it was absolutely. Yeah.
I thought he's a magician. He's absolutely.
Okay, there we go. Right, well, let's have a look at a few of the big races then. Obviously, Honeysuckle, of course, was once again unbeatable on Sunday, and on the betting, she's pretty much unbeatable as well. Father Champion Hurdle this year, betting to follow up last year's success, and she's 4-7 to do that. Appreciate It 9-2. Sharjah is 6-1. Epatante is 8-1. 12-1 Zanahiyr, 16-1 Tiapu, and Calixios 20-1 San Roy, and bigger prices the rest. And I mean, of the lineup here, Robbie, that she has to beat, most of them she's already dispensed with, whether it's at this track or over the Irish season over the past 12 months. She's got to appreciate it, but Festival Novices coming back the next year, that's always a tough ask as well, especially if you had the whole season off. What gets a beat?
The thing you need to consider is she's not putting up the best RPRs. She only got a 159 for winning the Irish Champion Hurdle. Obviously, the mare's allowance, that's a 166, but she's winning these races. She's beating these same horses easily over and over again. But, I mean, yeah, it's like style-wise, it looks great, but it's just not a great division. I think she will win because of the lack of depth, but, you know, if Appreciate It comes out, and I think he might run at Gorham Park in the Red Mills Hurdle, if he comes out and wins that in really good fashion, then I think he could give her a race. But, yeah, she's probably going to win. We need to see Appreciate It first to check that he's still in the same form as last season. But he's definitely an interesting one. But I wouldn't have, if he didn't show up before Cheltenham, I wouldn't be interested in him.
Okay, yeah, Appreciate It's a 9-2 shot. Beulah was the last horse to complete the double in 1971. Only 10 have tried since 1984, mind. But it's a big step up. You think it's quite a shocking stat almost, Tom. You think winning a novice at the festival the year before is potentially the perfect springboard to go on and take a champion hurdle next year, but I guess they go off to. There's so many different races that it doesn't necessarily work out that way. But Honeysuckle 4-7, Appreciate 9-2. Like I said, she's just up against the same bunch of horses, isn't she?
Yeah, apart from Appreciate It and last year's 4-year-olds, sorry, she'll beat Sharjah and Epatante and all those ones again. We know she's better than them. I personally wasn't blown away with her on Saturday. I thought the second Zanahiyr made a terrible mistake at the first, didn't he? Sort of knocked him out of his rhythm and his comfort zone. And I'm not sure she was at her best, along with lots of Henry de Bromhead's horses. Again, over the weekend, I didn't think some of them were at their best. And so there's plenty of time for her to blossom again. She's clearly the one to beat, and I think she will win. Appreciate It, I don't think you can back at 9-2 because we haven't seen him. If there is an angle, I think last year's 5-year-olds were pretty good. I know Zanahiyr was thrashed by Honeysuckle the other day, but he did finish second after that mistake. He'd also nearly beaten Sharjah the time before. We've seen Tritonic win a big handicap. Adagio ran second in the Great Wood. So if there is an angle, the 5-year-olds might be the way in. And if that's the case, then Quilixios comes into it. Perhaps he should have won last time. He should have beaten Tiupu. He quick and clear of him, and then sort of bungled the last and lost all his momentum and got caught retaken again on the line, giving him a bit of weight. So that would be the only angle I've got, is trying to back maybe one of the 5-year-olds each way. Maybe Quilixios at 16-1 would be the one.
Okay, yes. Espoir d'Allen, the only 5-year-old in 27 years to win this.
Sorry, who?
Espoir d'Allen.
Catch it as well.
Punjabi.
Catch it. One of them.
No, I've written this down wrong, haven't I? I've written this down wrong, haven't I?
I mean, it was a long time. They were both quite a long time ago, but yeah, they were the last couple, I think, and Punjabi and Catch.
Not that many run, to be honest.
I don't know what I've written down, if anything. I don't know what I've written down. But either
way, it is tough. It is still quite tough for the Triumph Hurdle Brigade in their following year, isn't it? Just generally. So
3 years ago, won by 16 lengths, though, didn't it? So these rules are we can. Yeah. I'm not a trends man at all, so that to me that sort of stat is just there to be broken.
Yeah, no, and it was wrong anyway. So.
It wasn't a very good one either.
So fair enough. I mean, Quilixios, of course, slight turnaround with Zanahiyr this year, though, as in Quilixios came into it fresh from a Dublin Racing Festival run and was ready and ready to go come the Triumph. Zanahiyr hadn't been seen since the Christmas period. It's almost turned around then. I don't think Zanahiyr will beat Honeysuckle, but Robbie, he never runs a bad race. He consistently, he just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, I like him a lot, and like Tom said, the sort of 5-year-olds that were 4-year-olds last season, I think it's a really good bunch. We don't even mention the likes of, they've gone over Fancy Riviere, the Tel, Saint Sam, Horncolors. There's a lot of good horses there. I've actually, on my notes, I've got Quilixios as well. I mean, he was really impressive when winning the Triumph last year. He's beaten Adagio, who's going to go off fair price for the Betfair Hurdle at the week. Actually, it might have been taken out, thinking out loud. But yeah, it's a really good bunch. Quilixios, I don't think I want to back him now necessarily. I think I'd probably wait until the day and look for a without Honeysuckle market. That might be the way in, because I can't see him beating her, but I could see him running into a place for sure.
Okay. How are punters going to play this market as well, Simon? That's the other thing. I mean, obviously Honeysuckle will be in all the multiples and so on and so forth. But if Appreciate It doesn't turn up or things don't necessarily go to plan, then there could be some of the bigger each way prices could be slightly shorter on the day.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, as we get closer, bookies will obviously have a betting without Honeysuckle. We'll have winning distance specials. You'll do all because it's really important for us to try and generate betting on what is one of the biggest 4 or 5 betting races of the year, the Champion Hurdle. It won't be this year because of the presence of such a short price favourite, but we've seen them get beat before at Cheltenham inexplicably. Duvan got beat at 2-9 or something in a Champ Chase. So people might give it a go, but probably each way. It's got the look of it. There have been years when Isterbrak was winning. Obviously, he was going off very short and beating things like Theatre, the same horse again. I could even see a similar tricast, with Shah Jahan coming second and Epatante third, because in many ways, apart from Appreciate It, they are still almost a standout second and third on form, and that was the way they finished last year. But yeah, we were almost willing, some money to come for other horses just to try and generate that sense of competition. Appreciate It running would be helpful as well. But at the moment, it's quite a stagnant betting race.
Any price boost for us, Simon?
Yes, I'm glad you asked me that. This relates really back to a couple of horses who ran on Sunday. This is Honeysuckle to win the Champion Hurdle and Chacun Pour Soi to finish in the first 3 in the Champion Chase. That's 7-2 from 3-1. A bit of fun there. And then Honeysuckle to win the Champion Hurdle by more than the distance she won the Irish Champion Hurdle, which was so it's over 6.5 lengths. She's 100-30 from 11-4 to win the Champion Hurdle by over 6.5 lengths.
Okay, there you go. A few price boosts for the Champion Hurdle then. I think we're all in fair agreement that Honeysuckle is going to retain a crown. Tom, but if you were going to take an angle now, or maybe an each way player or without the favourite or whatever you want, what's the angle?
I'd wait to see the Red Mills, because if Appreciate It goes there, I think it could be quite a good race, and then we could have a proper challenger. But at the present time, I backed Quilixios a few weeks ago, slightly bigger price than he is now, just on that 5-year-old angle. But I'm not expecting him to beat Honeysuckle.
Okay, Robbie?
Yeah, Quilixios each way. I think we need to see Appreciate It come out and do something first. But if he does win that Red Mills in good style, then I'd probably be quite tempted to back him against Honeysuckle.
Okay. And Simon?
Oh, good question. I mean, listen, I was great to see Epatante come back to win the Labrys Christmas Hurdle well. I don't think she was at her best last year when beaten by Honeysuckle. I'm not sure her best is good enough to beat Honeysuckle, but I'd be tempted maybe to back her each way. I don't think she'll be out of the 3. You might get 4 places or somewhere. She probably will. Will you get 4 places? Probably not. But certainly, yeah, each way, first 3, Epatante.
Okay, very well. I don't know how I'm going to play, but Zanny here to finish in the frame. Probably just do what I did at the weekend and ignore the win and just back to finish in the second, third, or fourth, and just try and get those each way plays in for the champion hurdle. But it is Honeysuckles to lose, of course, come day 1 of the festival. Moving on then for another Grade 1 and a fascinating lineup this for the Stayers Hurdle this year. It is a right old bunch of reluctant heroes, but very talented ones, that's for sure. Florian Porter is 3-1 favourite for the Stayers. Champ is 4-1, Time Hill 9-2, Classical Dream 5-1, Paisley Park 6-1, Asterion Forlonge is 8s with Royal Kahala, Sporting John at 9s, and then there's loads others you can throw in at bigger prices who might turn up. Thomas Darby's of this world and Indefatigables, those kind of horses. But Tom, I'm going to come to you for this first because it's a fascinating race. I love the Stayers Hurdle because it's brutal, isn't it? A lot of horses just do not enjoy this test whatsoever. You always get a really interesting mix of former chasers, horses stepping up in trip, bouncing back from disappointments, variety of age groups and trials. It's all over the place. It's great.
Yeah, I like the race too. It's always been one of my favourites. I've already done my money on this, having backed Buzz at the start of the season, which is irking me a bit, but poor old Buzz, he's such a fantastic horse. I hope all goes well with him. I think the market has it right. I think Florian Porter is the one to beat again. I really do. I like watching races with the sound down because people don't get into your head then and start giving you ideas. And I watched his race again the other day at Leopardstown over Christmas with Classical Dream. And unless I couldn't work out, and I still can't work out why everyone loved Classical Dream and hated Florian Porter that day. Because Florian Porter gave him 10-length start and he had to bustle him up. He didn't get the lead. He didn't do everything. And he was still coming back at him at the line. And if you watch the head on, he was hanging in behind him. He's a funny horse. We all know that. But I think there's loads more to come from Florian Porter. I thought he won last year's race so easily that I think he is definitely, for me, the one to beat again. Champ's a 10-year-old, can't have him anymore. I don't think Time Hill's quite good enough, in my opinion. Classical Dream is obviously very dangerous, but after the blowout and the Galmoy, I'm not sure I want to back him at 5-1. Paisley Park would need it very soft. If it got very soft, then it obviously changes it. Asterion Forlonge won't even run and can't win anyway. Royal Kahala's quite interesting, but she's got to step up and is too short for me. And Sporting John, if it got soft, has a chance as well. But for me, it's all about Florian Porter. I think he was an impressive winner last year, a brilliant winner last year, and I think he's underrated.
Okay, Florian Porter 3-1. Yeah, if he'd come out and won a couple of Grade 2 since then, he could be 6-4 favourite. It's not gone right for him since then. He was a fall behind Darasso, and obviously, the move by Paul Townend and Classical Dream. I watched the replay back earlier again, and you saw Danny Mullins look at the starter like, "Are you kidding? Are you going to let him do that?"
Yeah, it was a weird race. Like Tom alludes to, it was kind of surprising that no one really latched on to Florian Porter over Christmas for this, because everything went right for Classical Dream there, and he was obviously inconvenienced by the start. The market's cottoned on, but that's mainly because of the underperformances of Champ and Classical Dream since. He's definitely the solid one, but I don't think he's got scope to get much shorter on the day for me. I've had a couple of bets. Well, I backed Champ ages ago for this, but he let the side down a bit at Cheltenham. I think the one that no one's spoken about at all, and you lot might think I'm mad, but Song for Someone if he turns up. I think he ran in the listed contenders hurdle at Sandown on the weekend over 2 miles, and he's been looking for ages like he just needs a massive step up in trip. But Tom Simmons keeps running him over 2 miles and he keeps getting found out. He's not a 2-miler. He's been entered in the Stayers. I think he's 33-1 non-runner no bet with Coral. I've backed him at 66s. I think he's going to go there. I mean, Tom Simmons is eventually going to figure out that he's not a 2-miler. If you go back to his earlier form this season, he's served up to Buzz to a certain extent at Ascot. He was giving him £6 that day in second. That was quite a good run. And in the international hurdle, he's almost won it from being hard ridden throughout from Guard Your Dreams. If he goes up to 3 miles, we see it sometimes horses can step up and just really improve for the trip. He might be the one at a massive price.
Yeah, I'm just looking again. His RPRs, his top 5 RPRs, 2 are over 2 mile 1, the other are over 2 mile 3.5. So
Yeah.
And he's entered at the Betfair Hurdle.
Just the way, he can't run there, can he? Surely.
Yeah.
But just the way he shapes at the end of his races, it wouldn't surprise me if he was a lot better than we've seen over further.
And it can throw up a result, obviously, this race.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you can't put anyone off at that price. So.
Okay, song for someone then, a big price. I'm probably going to stick with Classical Dream. That Gorham Park meeting, it was everything that tried to make the run in that day completely stopped. There were a couple of handicap hurdles whereby if you'd have said this horse is going to win 3 or 4 hurdles from home, you'd have looked like an absolute lunatic. And they came from God knows where. And Classical Dream turns into the home straight, and it just looked to me like the way that meeting unfolded on the ground, that he just exhausted coming into the home straight. And I'm always wary of, like I said, when you're looking at a meeting and you think, okay, there's a definite bias towards the closers here. So I think Classical Dream is certainly, that didn't put me off him.
To be fair, I didn't actually pick up on that, but that's quite an interesting point. My idea of Classical Dream is that he's probably better fresh, and maybe he might have left his race behind by running there. I think he might have had a better chance at Cheltenham if he didn't go. So I don't think he represents much value at 5-1. While I think he's probably the most talented horse in the race, and I think he's probably slightly more talented than Champ. People might disagree. But I do worry that he's left that behind now. And if anything, I'd be half tempted to wait until Punchestown with him.
Yeah, okay. He's won 5 Grade 1s, so he is a very talented horse, but almost a bit under the radar because of his fairly in and out career. Kieran Caddison's got in touch. Good evening to you, Kieran. He says Florian Porter looks a very solid option to repeat last year's win, especially after Champ and Classical Dream mishaps. Of course, Florian Porter, he still hasn't won since that Stayers Hurdle, Simon. So, like I said, you probably could have backed everything in this race at 3 or 4 completely different prices over the past 12 months. It's a lively market, that's for sure.
It's a great market. It's a great race. It's thrown up shocks, like you said. I remember Ansem winning, I think, about 50-1. Listener Oscar was 50-1. Cole Hard was a jock of sorts at 14 even that year. So I think it's worth having a look for that big price horse like Robbie's done with Song for Someone. But at the same time, that repeat winners angle's really strong. When you think back to Big Bucks, Ingles Drever, Barracuda. So Florian Porter, reigning champ, I thought he looked the best horse in that defeat to Classical Dream by virtue of giving away such a big start. And he's the right sort of age profile. So he looks really solid. Okay, Robbie's right. Maybe don't back him now because is he going to shorten up? But another stat, I hope I've got this one right after your stat. But
after your debate, Paul Brierley.
To be fair, I think it's revenge for taking the legs out of your stat on Friday night, Simon.
My 5-year-old stat in the Irish article. But this one, there's only been one double-figure age horse in 50 years. Crimson Embers won as an 11-year-old in '86. Every other winner has been 9 years old or young, which is amazing when you think of all those repeat winners. That none of them sort of lasted into their double-figure years. And when you think that Champ is a 10-year-old, Paisley Park a 10-year-old, Sire de Burley a 10-year-old, Bouvardere 11-year-old. It's either a stat that's going to be blown open by one of them winning, or it really does pay just to maybe focus on that slightly younger brigade, and that takes in the likes of Florian Porter, Time Hill, and Classical Dream, and of course Song for Someone. But so I sort of felt Florian Porter and Time Hill look quite solid, but probably not necessarily a huge betting angle right now.
Okay, Florian Porter is a 3-1 favourite here. Price boost, Mr. Clare, please.
Price boost. Have we got a price boost here? Yes, we have a couple for the Stayers Hurdle. JP McManus to own the winner. He's got the likes of Champ and Sire de Burley and Sporting John and probably a couple more. He's 3-1 from 5-2. And 5-2 Willie Mullins or Gordon Elliott to train the winner with the likes again of Classical Dream and what else? Sire de Burley, etc. Gordon Elliott. So there's a couple of fun ones there.
Okay, there we go. A couple of price boosts for the Stayers Hurdle. Then, Robbie, you're going for this is one of those ones that it could be an incredible call, or no one will remember it. So it's perfect.
It could pay for my trip to Marbella this summer, but I'm going to stick. I'm going to stick with Song for Someone. But I've had other bets in the race. I backed Champ before the Ascot race, so I'm still kind of hopeful. But yeah, Song for Someone at the prices now.
Okay, lovely stuff. And Tom.
I've got some catching up to do, as I said, because I'm already behind the 8 ball with Buzz. But I've had a few quid on Florian Porter. I think it was double the price that he is now a few weeks ago. I think he's very, very solid.
Okay, and I'll stick with Classical Dream. Like I said, I do think there was excuses in the Gamble. He was 5-2 before the race. He's 5-1 now. So I think it's a perfectly reasonable excuse for that defeat, and I wouldn't have backed him at 5-2, but I might back him at 5-1, and he might go 5-2 again. So who knows? Simon, what about you?
I think Flooring Porter looks really solid on almost by powers of deduction. What I would say, and I know it's unlikely, but if Paisley Park, I thought it was fantastic to see Paisley Park win the Cleve Hurdle the other day. Aidan Coleman and Emma Lavella, top people. And I think if Paisley Park did end up winning the Stayers Hurdle, blowing that age stat out the water, I mean, that really would be up there with some of the best scenes in that amphitheatre, the likes when Spencer Sacra came back and won the championship. So I would be cheering him and cheering on with my heart, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, it would be absolutely unbelievable. So fingers crossed. At least if we're going to lose money, hopefully it's done in a moment of history.
Exactly. Yes.
That's what we want. Okay, one more race we're going to have a look at then. From the Champion Hurdle to the Stayers Hurdle, we're going over fences for a novices chase here in the shape of the Brown Advisory. Which, like I said, is a name that will maybe stick if they sponsor it for the next 10 years. Galloping de Champs, though, is 10-11 favoured after that win yesterday. Brave Man's Game 7-2, Ahoy Senor 5-1, Capodanno 6-1, Bob Ollinger 10s with Statler, 12-1 Fury Road and Jungle Boogie, and bigger prices the rest. Robbie, potentially an absolutely fascinating market, because there is a possibility, of course, that we've got an odds-on favourite that won't even run.
Exactly, Galloping de Champs makes the market there. And I know he was brilliant on the weekend, but I think we need to remember that Capodanno fell a long way out and Beacon Edge fell a long way out. We don't know how those horses would have fared. I mean, if Capodanno would have come out and only been beaten 2 lengths by Gallopin de Champs, then all of a sudden we might be saying Bob Ollinger is much better. So you kind of got to bear that in mind. I was chatting to your fair, wasn't I, Ross? I was actually in a coral shop this morning, backing a horse who should be on that page right now, but isn't, L'Homme Pressé, 16-1. I think the coral traders are taking a bit of a risk there. I half wonder whether Venetia Williams might be tempted to chuck him in at 3 miles for the first time. I think he could even improve for the trip. He was brilliant at Sandown, winning by 21 lengths in the Scilly Isles at the weekend. If he goes there, he's not a 16-1 trot, is he? He's probably second favourite behind Brave Man's Game. So he should be short on that for me.
Okay, there you go then. That's potentially interesting. L'Homme Pressé is a 16-1 shot. Champ, Lord Windermere, Couldime, Brief Gale, Florida Pearl, Stardom, Hazon win this race without having raced over 3 miles over fences. I'm convinced that's right. That's for sure. L'Homme Pressé, you were talking about the potential of him stepping up in trip for this race at the weekend, Tom, and that Sandown win certainly wouldn't have put you off. That's for sure.
Oh no, he's the best novice chaser in Britain by a mile, in my opinion. I think he's really, really good. I, like Robbie, would love to see him in this race, because I think this is going to be an easier race. I actually do think Gallopin de Champs will run in this race. I don't think I can't see any reason when you've won over 3 miles. They were worried that they were jumping too quick. That was I didn't see that on Saturday, but Ruby and Willie Mullins said after the race that he didn't jump as well because they were going a bit quick for him. I think they'll end up running in this race. So I think I do think it's going to be harder to win than it might appear if you think Gallopin's going somewhere else. Don't really fancy Brave Man's Game at Cheltenham, I have to admit. I think he's plenty short enough. I think he's got a bit to prove if he runs on Saturday. They say he's going to run in a handicap on Saturday. If that's the case, we'll see what he's made of there. But I'm not. I think Kempton's perfect for him. Ahoy Senor was good in the Towton. I thought he jumped much better. We know how good he is from his hurdles form, so he's definitely in the game. But and I also think Capodanno, the one Robbie mentioned, his much improved hurdles form came on better ground, and if the ground got better, he'd be interesting. But I don't think half of those will run. I think Gallopin will. I think Brave Man's Game will, and Poison, you're on Capodanno, but the rest might not. And therefore, I think it'll be a 6-7 runner field. I personally would love to see L'Homme Pressé run there, but I don't think you can back him non-runner, no bets. Not Venetia's style to do something different just quickly as they come to Cheltenham. She'll normally stay at the same thing until something happens, and then she'll change the way the trip she runs horses over. So I think L'Homme Pressé will probably end up in the Turners, which is a shame because, like Robbie said, if he was running here, if we could be guaranteed he'd be running here, I think 16-1 is way too big.
Okay, yeah, potentially interesting market. Again, that's always the problem with these kind of races, isn't it, Robbie? I mean, it's a similar comments almost. If if Galloping de Champs wasn't running here, I'd say Statler would be an absolute bang-on Brown Advisory type of horse. But they're likely to go to the National Hunt Chase just because they've got Galloping.
I think he's been laid out for that race, and they've obviously got Capadonna as well. It doesn't really make much sense. But yeah, a very good horse.
If he was, it's just that kind of because they're all concentrated with one trainer.
Yeah, exactly. He's like this. You can get kind of value in doing doubles and multiples with these kind of things because Mullins does like to split his horses. But yeah, I mean, I do like the fact that Galopin is so short in both because that does mean there's value. And I'm always someone who'd rather not take a non-run no bet in that kind of market and just kind of chance my arm at trying to second guess what a trainer's doing.
Okay. Galloping de Champs then 10-11, Brave Man's Game 7-2, Ahoyson, you're 5-1, Capadonna, of course. Bit of a soft unseat the other day, wasn't it? But still nice to see a horse get round before Cheltenham. You got Fury Road, of course, who disgraced necessarily on his last start. When he went down the inside, he made a bad mistake, didn't he? A crucial point. But yeah, we could have your Bob Oningers, your Galloping de Champs, and your Statlers for the novice chasers, Simon, and they could all go off short prices, be putting all the multis and be a cut above this lot.
Yeah, and I mean this, when it was the RSA or it was the RSA back in the day, this used to be a much bigger field and throw out many more surprises like Hussard Calandre and Monsieur Le Cure and Rule Supreme to a degree. Whereas I think in recent years the biggest price in the last 10 years has been 12-1. There's always sort of single figure prices. I think it's because the the turners of the old march, the 2.5 mile novice chase was created, took horses away, and even the National Hunt Chase now is a stronger race. So it's a bit of a shame from a bookie point of view because it means the chance of getting Galloping de Champs beat if he runs here is less. But I thought Gaillard, at the end of the day, it does still suit those kind of real solid stayers. I thought Gaillard de Monil is just an interesting horse wherever he runs because he obviously placed in the Ballymore, but he looks a thorough stayer who's well beaten back in third, but staying on. So whether he goes for this or the National Hunt Chase, I thought might be interesting at a big price. But clearly this is a race where the decision on where they run Galloping de Champs is going to have a material difference.
Yeah. I think Gaillard de Monil, a mark of 147 in a handicap, I think I'd be quite happy with that in a decent race. Galloping de Champs then 10-11. Again, it is a tough race to play because of those potential angles with other novice chasers. But Robbie, what would you be having a bet on now? Tom's
put me off L'Impresse a bit, but I've made the effort to cycle up to Coral Shop this morning to put the bet on. So I'm going to stick with that. 16 should be shorter, and I wouldn't be surprised if your boys going short on that after this. But we'll see.
That's confidence in your impact.
Quite arrogant, actually, but you've got to back.
I like it.
You've got to back yourself in this game, haven't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. Tom.
I didn't put you off, Robbie, because I'm with you. I think he's.
No, it's just what you were saying about Venetia not changing her mind, Tom. That was.
She doesn't normally, but she might be. I mean, if Galopin de Champs and Bob Ollinger turn up in the other one, and Brave Man's Game's favourite here, things can change. I mean, I might bump into her when I do a Cheltenham preview one day and give her a headlock for you, Robbie.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, in this race, because I'm with you. I think if he ran in this race, I'd be with you at him at 16-1. As you say, can you back him now? You are of the disposition to take that risk, and I'm slightly with you on that. Yeah, that's how I like to bet too. But at the moment, I would imagine him running in the other race. But we'll see. Yeah, I love that horse. I think Capadano's quite interesting if it was good ground. And I did when we did the pull out for the Cheltenham preview at the start for the jumps season to follow at the start of the season. My headline selection was Ahoy Senior for this race at a massive price. So I've got a few quid on him, so I'd like him to run well. Still slightly concerned about his jumping, if truth be told.
Okay. A few angles then for the Brown Advisory. One more to throw in a bigger price as well. Again, what will he go for? But Farouk Delaine, I didn't think was exactly disgraced behind Statler last time out again, and he seems, he beat Vanillier in a Grade 2 last season. He's a thorough stayer as well. But yeah, we're starting to get into the murky depths of what will they run in. So you end up backing horses in 5 races, Simon.
Exactly, yeah. So I'd be waiting till near the time just sort of get a sense of where Guy Dominion might run. I'd be sort of have to back him almost anywhere because I think he's probably not shown his full ability this season, having looked pretty decent at the back end of last season. But yeah, it's a tricky one. I'd love to see a Ahoy Senior win, by the way. I mean, I think Lucinda Russell, after they had that lovely horse Brindisi Breeze, who was killed tragically at home. I think if this is the first really good horse they've had since then. And I'd love to see him run a huge race. Her and Peter Scudder are, again, good people. I have got a couple more in the know specials, and this is one if you want to just back Honeysuckle and Galopin des Champs to win this Brown Advisory in a double. It's 5-2 enhanced from 2-1, and if you think they're both going to sloosh up, you can back them at 7-1 to both win by over 5.5 lengths.
Okay, there we go. 7-1 out from 6-1. Honeysuckle and Galopin des Champs to both win by over 5.5 lengths. But it looks like a L'Homme Pressé fan club against the favourite potentially here for the Brown Advisory. That's the third of the 3 races we're going to be looking at ahead of the festival, of course, in 5 weeks' time. But each weekend it's going to get more exciting. So let's have a quick look at what we've got to look forward to, of course, this weekend and what might change. We've got the Denman Chase, of course. We've got the Game Spirit. We've got the Betfair Hurdle. We've got the Kingmaker, and we've also got a novice hurdle that was won by Chantry House a couple of seasons ago, and Calypto, who finished 4th in the Triumph. QE ran really well in the Supreme. So, questions potentially, Tom, coming up this weekend. Obviously, Paul Nicholls has got plenty of questions with horses he's got entered. Roper Guy might enter the Gold Cup angle. The Game Spirit might throw something up, and the Kingmaker's got a pretty good record in the Arkle as well.
Yeah, Kingmaker's the race for me, Ross. Edwardstone versus Third Time Lucky. I think they should be at the head of the. I think they are. I think Edwardstone is at the head of the market for the Arkle now, along with Blue Lord. I'm more impressed with Edwardstone than I was with Blue Lord the other day. I think Third Time Lucky is a horse with any amount of potential. So if they bang heads there, that'll be a race to watch. Also looking forward to seeing Brave Man's Game if he runs in that handicap. But you know what I'm going to say. It's all about the handicap, the Betfair Hurdle. I back Soaring Glory to win again. I think he's got a great chance despite top weight. I think he's a proper Group Grade 1 hurdler when he's right, and if conditions stay as they are and don't get too soft, he's got a good chance of winning again.
Okay, there you go. And by the looks of things, there's only 16 left in it. Could end up being an 8-runner race at this rate, so you might be on the right side of it. What are you looking forward to, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Betfair Hurdle as well. I backed JPR1 quite a while ago. I think he's quite unlucky not to be coming into the race unbeaten for Colin Tizard. He looks on a very good mark. He's just kind of out-battled on his second start at Cheltenham by That's Right Gino. He's also won a novice hurdle over a bit further. I quite like that. That will help his stamina over the trip. It could. I mean, there's only 16 entries. That's pretty paltry, really, for a race of that magnitude. It could cut up even further. JPR1's got the Betfair, got the Supreme and Ballymore entry as well. It was 130. It could be way better than that. And also, the big breakaway, quite interestingly, entered over hurdles on that card as well. It's not been seen in that sphere since finishing 4th to Envoy Allen at the festival. He's off 144. Chasing's not really gone to plan, but maybe if he's revitalised for a switch to hurdles, he could be quite well handicapped. So they're the 2 for me at the moment.
Okay, very well. And Simon, obviously, we could have quite a bit of an impact here. Like I said, Roper Guy. I mean, we were conflated throwing his hat into the ring. I mean, Roper Guy was well beaten last year, but that was off the back of a big step up in grade, and it's been a nice progression this season for him. If he goes and wins at Newbury this weekend by a healthy margin, he could shake things up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 20-1 chance for the Gold Cup now, and it's okay. Aputard, aside, he's really impressive. And Galvin, I suppose, the 2 form horses at the top of the betting, but it's sort of quite open. So it'll be very interesting to see him win, and if he can win and sort of emerge as the leading contender, because we've got Protectorat, I suppose, is our leading UK trained contender in the Gold Cup. I think, as Tom said, that Kingmaker's fascinating with Edwardstone and Third Time Lucky, because you've got Blue Lord and Riviere to tell favourite and third favourite for the Arkle, and Edwardstone is 7-2 second favourite, Third Time Lucky 6-1. I think that Arkle could be a cracker if those 2 can come through the Kingmaker and go on to Cheltenham. And just talking about the big breakaway, they're targeting the Coral Trophy, the race we're sponsoring at Kempton, which has now been boosted to 150 grand. I thought I'd drop that in. And so I think they're protecting his chase handicap up, but they did say they needed to get a run into him beforehand just to, take the fizz out of him and get him ready for that big handicap at Kempton. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes over hurdles at the weekend.
Okay, very good. So we're going to wrap up, but before we do, of everything we've mentioned tonight, if you could back one horse or take one bet or play one angle that we've mentioned, what would it be? First things first to you, Tom.
I like Sir Gerhard if he runs in the Supreme. I don't like him if he runs in the Ballymore.
Okay, very well. And Robbie?
Ilete Tomps in the Triumph Hurdle 2014s, 14 to 1. Okay. Just too big. Either price is too big.
Okay, very well. And I'll stick with Classical Dreamer. Like I said, given their penchant for gambling, this horse, he could go a 5-2 favourite if they run him and he's right for the Stayers Hurdle. So I'll go for that. Simon.
Well, I was going to say Flooring Porter, but now you say Classical Dream. I'm going to play the Paul Keeley role because I'm sure that he was actually made up by Vauban's performance because he's been saying he's a top contender for the Triumph Hurdle. So I think Vauban was so impressive. I think he'll win the Triumph. That race has an amazing record for throwing up Triumph Hurdle winners.
Okay, lovely stuff. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Paul Townend for joining us. Thank you to Tom. Thank you for Robbie. Fantastic debut. And thank you to Simon as well with his angles at home. And thank you to everyone for watching. Again, we'll probably get this a bit tighter as the Mondays go on, but and we'll try and get some comments out. A lot of comments in there, too many if anything. But no, I appreciate you all watching, and we will get your thoughts and feelings as the weeks go on. We'll be back on Friday night as well to preview the likes of the Kingmaker, the Denman Chase, and the Betfair Hurdle as well. And fingers crossed we can have just as good a weekend as we have in the weekend just gone. Again, as ever, gamble responsibly. Good luck with your bets this week. We'll see you on Friday night. It's good night from me. It's good night from everyone else. Have a good week.